Other religious foodways that helped to shape the U.S. Food culture was Catholicism. So, what are some of the dietary observances of Catholics? Well, Ash Wednesday and Good Friday are obligatory days of fasting and abstinence for Catholics. In addition, Fridays during Lent are obligatory days of abstinence for members of the Latin Catholic Church. The norms of fasting are obligatory from age 18 until age 59. When fasting, a person is permitted to eat one full meal, as well as two smaller meals that are equal to one full meal. So 2 meals, okay. The norms concerning abstinence from meat. So remember, the norms concerning abstinence from meat are binding upon members of the Latin Catholic Church from age 14 onwards. Members of the Eastern Catholic Churches, meaning the Eastern Orthodox Churches, are to observe the particular law of their own Sura Juris, whatever. If possible, the fast on Good Friday is continued until Easter Vigil, as the Paschal fast, to honor the suffering and death of the Lord Jesus, to prepare oneself to share more fully and to celebrate more readily his resurrection. So I would highly encourage people read Dr. Walter Longo's book, The Longevity Diet. He actually covers this and the fasting and how fasting, these periodic controlled eating methods, like his concept of the longevity diet and the fasting mimicking diet, help to promote longevity. Okay, and I'm going to move on. Another food way that affected the American dietary habits greatly, especially in the Northeast, especially in areas like Philadelphia and New York, like where I'm at in the Philadelphia area, is Jewish cuisine. Not necessarily kosher cuisine, although that's where it originates, but Jewish cuisine, because not all Jews are kosher observant. But I'm going to talk about this. So let's get into the history. Between 1881 and 1921, around 2.5 million Jews immigrated to the United States from Eastern Europe. Most of them settled in large cities in the northeastern part of the country, especially New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Cleveland, Chicago, and Baltimore. These immigrants brought with them a well-developed culinary heritage. The cuisine continued to evolve in America in the homes of the immigrants and their descendants, and the delicatessens and appetizing stores in New York City and elsewhere. Delicatessens were quite popular among second-generation American Jews, especially in the mid-20th century. They provided a place for the patrons to socialize in a comfortable environment. They also popularized some of the dishes now associated with American Jewish cuisine, which were affordable for the upwardly mobile customers, but which would have seemed luxurious to their European ancestors. So keep that in mind. Again, differentiation between Europeans and Americans. In this case, American Jews versus their European ancestors. Kosher food is blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into this. Let's just get into the dishes, Passover, yada, yada. This is the 2 different types of Jews. Not important. Let's see. Popular dishes. Here we go. That's a bagel and lox. So that's smoked salmon with a bagel. Okay. Chicken soup and matzo balls, gefilte fish. Popular dishes in American Jewish cuisine include a bagel, bialy, blintzes, brisket, challah bread, chicken soup, chopped liver, corned beef, gefilte fish, kishki, knish, kugel, latke, lox, mandelbraut, pastrami, rugula, whitefish. Okay, and I'm going to move on. A very big influence on American cuisine, which is overlooked, especially from the 1960s onward, is Indian cuisine, by way of the Hare Krishna movement, or the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which promotes lacto-vegetarianism. So these are some of the foods that you would eat if you were an observant member of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, or one of the many breakaway organizations. Vegetable and cheese stew, cheesy quinoa, super soup starter, cucumber yogurt soup, fresh cranberry relish, savory chickpeas and tomato glaze, pineapple and peas and almond broth, savory samosas. A samosa is kind of like an empanada, peanut butter cookies, good old southern cornbread, vegetable quiche, homemade yogurt, granola cookies, stuffed Italian flatbread, ikadasi buckwheat muffins, Malaysian sweet, sour, and hot salad, easy bread, carob fudge cake, vegetables au gratin, banana nut bread, caramel shortbread bars, mozzarella and tomato pizza, Chandra's delicious chewy brownies, basmati and mixed vegetable khichdi, rosemary roasted potatoes, tender chickpeas and coconut yogurt sauce, basil pecan pesto. Now, what I want you to see is a lot of these foods obviously can be veganized very easily. And of course, if you click on any one of these images, it will give you a recipe, and I'll show you that in a second. And you can look for different recipes like this on food.krishna.com. So what I want to point out here, obviously, if you're on a Seventh-day Adventist diet and you're following a lacto-ovo-vegetarian version of a Seventh-day Adventist diet, or a lacto-vegetarian version of a Seventh-day Adventist diet, or any other version of a Seventh-day Adventist diet that is not vegan, you can surely incorporate any of these foods into that. You can also veganize these foods, okay? But, so seasoned black beans, spiced pan-fried okra, chickpea of the sea, which is chickpea tuna, like you're substituting chickpeas with tuna. I'm sorry, you're substituting tuna with chickpeas, spinach and cheese tart, cheesy spinach and corn phyllo, double chocolate walnut cheesecake, Middle Eastern round flatbread, also known as the pita, easy peasy pasta, which is pasta and peas, veggie tofu wrap with tahini miso sauce, lush lemon raspberry bars, deep fried spinach and cheese balls, anise milk with raisins and pistachios, chickpea flour and dried fruit balls, fruit pudding, coconut chutney, apple chutney, vegetable turnovers, again very similar to an empanada, seasoned okra slices, steamed spinach with fresh cheese, Indian crackers, fried chickpeas and peppers, flour rice, cucumber, veggie burgers, lemon sponge cake, ghee khichdi, roasted broccoli and cauliflower vermicelli, so it's just basically pasta, Greek-style white bean and vegetable soup. Here, let's take a look at this recipe real quick. Boom. So this here is showing there's nothing like a steaming pot of hot soup, from the book Cooking with Kumar. Oh, I guess it doesn't give you a recipe. Let's see the book though. So, I guess I won't go to that page. Oh well. But that gives you an idea of the foods that you would eat on an observant Hare Krishna, International Society for Krishna Consciousness type diet, or one of the many breakaway groups. And that helped shape the diet of the United States, especially from the 1960s onward to a large extent. So what does the U.S. Department of Agriculture have to say about healthy food preparation? Think balance. Include a variety of delicious foods from all 5 food groups: fruits, vegetables, grains, protein foods, and dairy or fortified soy alternatives. Chop fresh produce in advance. Okay, so cut up fresh fruits and fruits like melons and pineapples, and veggies like carrots and broccoli, so you have them, for a snack or ready to go for meals. Bake, grill, broil, or roast. Sweeten foods with fruit. Remember how the Mormons would sweeten their foods with squash and other sweeter foods to sweeten it before they can get sugar in the area. Find more flavor. Read food labels. And I'm going to move on here. So, what are the best ways to cook food to retain the nutritional benefits? Okay, roasting, baking, stewing, and sautéing in a small amount of water or oil are healthy options when deciding on a cooking method. Okay. And it is not all cut and dry, because not all vegetables and cooking methods produce such positive effects. In fact, some methods actually can reduce heat and light sensitive nutrients and vitamins like vitamin C and some B vitamins, to name a few. Because of this, the woman suggests changing up your cooking methods often. In short, change your method of cooking on a regular basis, but make sure to keep them healthy. What makes a cooking technique bad? Okay, well, of course, jacking up the saturated fat and salt and increase the chances of carcinogen promotion. For example, frying, grilling, smoking with added fats and salt seasonings, and especially when the food is burnt, can be harmful. Consuming foods prepared by these methods. So remember, frying, grilling, and smoking, and of course adding fat and sugar and salt. Okay, this can increase carcinogenesis. Okay, so consuming foods prepared by these methods have been found to increase the risk of both heart disease and cancer. The American Institute of Cancer Research has published cooking and grilling recommendations to reduce the promotion of these cancer-causing properties and substances. Okay, here are the best and worst cooking methods, presented from worst to best. The worst, of course, is deep frying. Then comes smoking. Then comes grilling. Then now we have air frying is pretty much okay. Microwaving. Surprisingly, microwaving does a good job of preserving a food's vitamin C content as well as other nutrients that are often diminished in the heating process. Researchers conducted a study in which they found that microwaving and steaming were able to preserve flavonoids found in broccoli. Harvard Health Publishing explains that the microwave is able to do this in part because of shorter cooking times. Sautéing. Sautéing is a tasty way to prepare. Now, when I sauté, I do not use oil. I use water. Okay? So, sautéing is a tasty way to prepare foods such as vegetables and meats, while also opting for a healthier alternative. However, it is important to keep in mind which ingredients you use while sautéing. For example, one study done in Spain found that sautéing broccoli with olive oil or sunflower oil helped better retain the vegetable's vitamin C content. Okay, roasting food, which is number 4. Roasting food is an example of a cooking method that may help amp up flavor of food while enhancing its nutritional content. Roasting vegetables with a small drizzle of oil and a pinch of salt can really bring out the flavor and enhance the availability of such nutrients as beta-carotene and lycopene, which are carotenoids, and calcium. Now, what you need to keep in mind here, I would not recommend putting the oil and heating the oil. I would recommend adding the oil after cooking. Why do I say that? The reason why is because you don't want to heat your oils if you can avoid it. 3. Sous vide. Sous vide, an airtight vacuum seal and slow cooking time, uses an airtight vacuum seal and slow cooking time to help create tasty culinary creations. This method not only locks in moisture, resulting in a juicy dish, it also comes with its own variety of health benefits. For starters, according to Sous Vade magazine, its non-invasive cooking temperatures and vacuum-sealed detail both help to preserve water-soluble vitamins such as vitamin C and B. Okay, pressure cooking. Pressure cooking may be one of the easiest and healthiest ways to prepare food. The Instant Pot wins the prize for cooking healthy soups and chili, she says. Literally, you throw the ingredients in, push a button, and that's it. Easy cleanup, and veggie soup is liquid gold for healthy eating. And apparently Gomer is not the only fan of this clever invention. According to the Cleveland Clinic, pressure cooking can help preserve food's nutrients during the cooking process. For instance, in another study published in the Journal of Food Science, researchers found that broccoli retained 90% of its vitamin C content when prepared in a pressure cooker. Number 1, steaming. Not only is steaming an easy, simple way to prepare food, but it also comes with a bevy of health benefits. According to research done by Cornell University, steaming vegetables such as carrots, peppers, and cabbage can help provide more antioxidants compared to when those same vegetables are consumed raw. Water-soluble vitamins such as vitamin C and most B vitamins may also be retained more during the steaming process, as opposed to boiling due to the food's limited contact with the water. Although if you are boiling, try stewing. And what do I mean by that? Consume the liquids. Because what happens is the vitamins and minerals run out into the liquids. But if you're eating the liquids, such as in stewing, you're not really losing the nutrients as long as you're cooking it on a low enough heat.
So one of the biggest problems we have as a country is we don't go back to the scientific application of how to be a decent, how to actually manage a home, okay? So I created this playlist a couple years back about, classical home economics. I'm going to go over a couple of these right now.
The American housewife, who has a more important, a more responsible occupation. Wife, mother, laundress, counselor, maid, chef, purchasing agent. All of these are her duties at one time or another.
Now keep in mind, prior to feminism, or at least before feminism kicked off and started taking over things, the role of women was not actually belittled in the United States or elsewhere, but predominantly not in the United States, but actually exemplified and held up as the person that was responsible for the home, for managing the budget of the home, for basically caring for the people, for the husband, for the children, etc. So let's move on. I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people like to say that women were seen as inferior to men. That's not true. Women were seen as equal to men, but different than men. Equal, but different. And, if you're going to understand the biological differences between men and women, there are also sociological differences between men and women, because if we're going to have a society based on biology, on the laws of biology and the laws of nature, clearly there's going to be some bleed over between the two.
If her income is limited, and most incomes are, it is her duty to be sure that what she has to spend buys the most in healthful, nutritious food for her family. Yes, she feels that she must buy wisely if she can. But just what does this mean? What can she do to be sure her money goes as far as possible? One of the first things she can do is just what this young lady is doing. Shopping from a grocery list. Using the list.
This is very important to keep in mind. A lot of people know what healthy food is. Okay, they know that eating vegetables is good for them. They know that if they're going to eat meat, they should eat lean meat. They know that if they're going to eat fish, they should opt for fish over meat. They know they should opt for poultry over red meat. They know they should opt for vegetarian cuisine whenever possible. But what happens is a lot of people get overwhelmed in the store and they lose track of what they're doing and they can't, they just buy whatever. You know what I mean? So it's beneficial to have a grocery list and to know what you're buying before you go into the store. Also, it's beneficial to eat fairly normal group of staple foods on a regular basis so that you don't get confused and impulse buy.
Lady is doing. Shopping from a grocery list. Using the list tends to eliminate so-called impulse buying, which is a great waster of housewives' funds.
Now, another thing that you have to understand is this is back when the education system actually worked to prevent impulse buying. This is before, well, not really, because corporations actually helped make a lot of these videos, but this is before capitalism got so involved in the education process that we were indoctrinated with consumerism from basically from cradle to grave, as has happened, more or less from the 1980s onward, meeting its apex in the early 2000s, I think.
So-called impulse buying, which is a great waster of housewives' funds. What is impulse buying? Let's take a look at Henry Slinkman. He's frequently guilty of it. Henry's going to pick up something for dinner. His wife didn't tell him what to get. Anything that looks good, she said. Henry's been working hard all day and he's hungry. What's more, he's hungry for something different, getting tired of the same old things all the time. That's it. That's what he's hungry for, oysters. So Henry takes not one, not two, but 3 pints of oysters. The way he feels right now, he could eat all of them by himself. Henry and his wife don't often eat cake. Neither of them care much for it. But tonight, Henry's really hungry, and this cake certainly looks wonderful. Henry knows he ought to have some vegetables, good diet, and all that, you know. What's this? Henry's never seen anything like this before. Looks good, so he'll take 2. Yes, Henry is guilty of impulse buying. But how is impulse buying wasteful? When Henry finished dinner that evening, he was sure he wouldn't be able to eat another oyster for a long, long time. And almost 2 of the 3 pints that Henry bought will have to be thrown away. Neither Henry nor his wife cared for the new vegetable. Most of what he bought will go to waste. Henry and his wife tired of the cake long before it was eaten. Henry found out about impulse buying the hard way. The housewife may buy quantities which are not economical for her family. Here are 2 different size cans of the same product.
This is a very important thing that definitely still holds true today. And people need, of course, you have to adjust for inflation, but this is very true to this day. Pay special attention to what's being said here.
Here are 2 different size cans of the same product. The small can contains 16 ounces and costs 12 cents, or 75 hundredths of a cent per ounce. The large can contains 31 ounces and costs only 22 cents, which is 71/100ths of a cent per ounce. Which shall she buy? The answer depends entirely upon the situation. If the food requirements of the family are great enough, the large can is the better buy, because all of it will be used. None will be left over. But if the family is small, the small can may be the better buy, since part of the large can would probably have been wasted. The right answer depends upon the requirements of the purchaser. Sometimes substantial savings can be effected by buying in case lots. But this presents a storage problem that some people may not be able to solve. It's wise to be sure the food is well liked by everyone before you buy too much of it. Obviously, highly perishable foods are not suitable for quantity buying because they spoil too quickly. When buying canned goods, be sure to read the label.
So remember, this is going back, I believe, to the 50s, maybe the 60s, but they were talking about reading labels back then. People don't read labels enough now.
Spoil too quickly. When buying canned goods, be sure to read the label. The information on the label is much more reliable than the flowery language of advertisements. Some labels are of the descriptive type that you see here, giving the buyer some description of what is to be found in the can. Other labels carry a letter grade, which indicates the characteristics of the contents. The meanings of the letters vary with the type of food. Usually, the grade A indicates a fancier product. For example, these grade A tomatoes are larger, more colorful, and less broken than the grade C, although both grades are probably equally nutritious and healthful. These are canned string beans. Which is grade A and which is grade C? Here, the smaller beans are grade A because they are more tender and taste better. Here are grade A and grade C peaches. Can you tell the difference? Of course you can't. Not only appearance, but taste and degree of ripeness determine the grades of these peaches. The size is of small importance. The thing to remember is to read the label. Know what you are buying before you buy. Did you ever stop to think how many ways you could buy one kind of food? Dried, canned, frozen, or fresh. It will pay you to analyze the situation and decide which is most economical for you. Usually, if it's the season when the fruit or vegetable is ripe, it will be most economical to buy it fresh. This box of strawberries will cost about half as much in summer when berries are plentiful, as it will in winter. The season of the year has a tremendous influence on the price of most fruits and vegetables. The reason for this great difference in price is the cost of transporting the food from a warm climate where it can be grown in winter to the market, which may be several hundred miles distant. Different kinds of fruits and vegetables are in season at different times throughout the year. It will be more economical for you to serve the ones that happen to be in season at any particular time. You may find that you can save money by doing your own preservation of foods. Home canned food will usually cost less than commercially canned, and if the housewife's time is not too highly valued, This can be a saving. Frozen foods are the nearest thing to fresh foods available. They are convenient, easily prepared, and palatable, but they are usually priced higher than other types. This price is partially offset by...
Now, what's excellent these days is that's actually not still true. Frozen food is perhaps the most economical and most nutritious way to purchase most vegetables at this point in time. Also, many proteins, such as chicken, beef, and various types of seafood come frozen as well, which is also more economical, generally speaking.
Prepared and palatable, but they are usually priced higher than other types. This price is partially offset by the fact that there is no waste. There are various meats available to the housewife, ranging from the most tender, most expensive cuts to the equally nutritious but less tender portions of the animal, which are sometimes ground or chopped. At this point, the cooking ability of the housewife becomes highly important. It doesn't take much skill to make an excellent meal from an expensive T-bone steak. But the sign of an accomplished cook is an attractive and tasty dish made from less expensive meat, hamburger, frankfurters. Even a well-prepared, well-seasoned stew is a dish a housewife can be proud to set before her family. The nutritive value of meats varies little with price. The desirability and small proportion of the tender cuts causes them to be priced higher. Milk is an important part of every good diet, but your attempts to economize on it may have disastrous results. Use the best grade of milk available to you. Disease may be contracted through drinking unsanitary raw milk.
This is important to understand because a lot of people these days are promoting the consumption of raw, unpasteurized milk products. Now, of course, I don't eat or drink any milk products because I'm 100% plant-based. I'm a strict vegetarian. But for those that do eat milk products, it's very important not to consume raw milk products. I know the Amish market where I live sells raw milk products. It's not worth the risk. It really isn't.
Through drinking unsanitary raw milk. Now let's review the important rules for buying wisely. Shop from a grocery list to avoid impulse buying. Decide upon the most economical quantity for your family. Check in your local market as to which form of food is the most economical for you. Purchase fruits and vegetables in season whenever possible. Do your own food preservation when feasible. Exercise your skill and ingenuity in preparing tasty and healthful dishes from less expensive meats. You'll find that keeping these things in mind will help you to buy wisely and stay within your food budget.
One of the biggest issues, I think, with modern American diet is the fact that nobody knows a damn thing about home economics. And people might go, well, why study home economics? Some people don't even know what home economics are. Well, let's take a look at what home economics are.
Janet, you haven't had your nose out of those papers for an hour now.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what courses to take next term.
I have to do that, too. What are you taking?
Well, I have to fill one science requirement, and English, and I want to take home economics.
Home economics? Why in the world do you want to take home ec?
Why? Well, because that's something I'm going to need to know, and so are you. We have to learn sometime, Carol.
I'm learning something about homemaking right now. Mother can teach us how to keep house and cook and sew and everything we'll need to get by on.
But I don't want to just get by.
Now, this is one of the other things that's one of the reasons I think that our society as a whole is lacking. My grandparents' generation, which was the World War II generation, was the last generation, the first and the last really, that learned how to apply science, such as the science of home economics, to daily life. Okay? And after that, everything kind of declined and became a lot more lazy, and people lacked the ability to apply knowledge, scientific knowledge, to the management of everyday life. And a lot of things became more about feelings and nonsense like that instead of operating in an economical and an efficient manner.
I'm going to be a homemaker the rest of my life. I want to know what I'm doing.
So do I. But personally, I think it's a waste of time to take home ec. What can they teach you in home ec classes that you can't learn right here at home or pick up after you get married?
Well, I don't know, but there's some things I'm sure.
If you find out what it is, you tell me.
All right, I will find out. Well, since you teach home ec, Miss Jenkins, could you tell me what I could learn in home ec that I can't learn at home?
Well, first of all, let's admit one thing, Janice. If your mother's going to run her own household and keep up on all the latest developments and teach you and your sister all there is to know about homemaking, well, she's going to be a pretty busy woman. To tell you the truth, Janice, you need to know more than just how to run a house or an apartment. You need to know why as well as how. Now, let's take a look at some of the courses you could take and see what might help you. In the courses that deal with the preparation of meals, you'll learn more than just how to cook. You will also study the fundamental principles of food buying, food handling, and of course, the preparation and serving of family meals. Meals that are planned to meet the individual needs of your family. You'll understand the nutritional problems of your family and each individual.
Now keep that in mind, the nutritional problems of your family. This is something that's not stressed anymore. It's not stressed in health class. It's not stressed in any educational system. And I think, unfortunately, many parents don't know it because it wasn't stressed when they went to school. But also what the fundamental problem is that a lot of people also assume that people are learning these things in school. I know that I assumed that people learned this stuff in school because I learned some of this in school. But when I started teaching a group for weight management and healthy living and healthy lifestyles, people didn't know these things because they never learned them. And I was wrong in assuming that they would know these things or that they should know these things because I was taught them in a public school, and I thought all public schools were held to a similar standard as the one that I went to, especially similar schools in the same area that I grew up, but such things are not true. Also, people don't necessarily apply themselves or pay attention in every aspect of the education process. So even if it was taught, maybe they just weren't paying attention, or maybe they didn't retain the knowledge.
You'll understand the nutritional problems of your family and each individual better after you've had courses in food and nutrition and studied the food requirements of the body and the composition and nutritive values of different foods. The needs and personality of each individual in your family will likewise determine the type of clothing you should purchase or construct. In clothing courses, you'll study the psychology of clothing, the history of costume, and the techniques of dress designing. You'll learn to recognize common fabrics and to distinguish one textile from another. Present-day textiles cannot be selected with confidence just by casual examination because there are so many new man-made fibers and new finishes for the old, familiar, natural fibers. It's a proud moment when you finally step before the mirror in something you've constructed, because you'll see not only the garment, but a person who is better prepared to select or construct clothing suitable for each member of your future family. And as you prepare for the future, you should recognize that your first home may be a trailer, or it may be your dream home. In either case, you will be able to make your home more attractive, more suitable to your family if you've studied home decoration. Learn to distinguish between furniture styles and qualities. Practice combining different types of fabrics, colors, textures to find the effective ways of using whatever is available. You know, many boys as well as girls are enrolled in home economics courses. They too need to learn house designs, decorator colors, and money management. And when it comes to managing that home, you will need to understand the principles of money management, how to use most advantageously whatever income you have. But of course, your real success or failure as a homemaker will be determined by your ability to develop good family relationships. The enrollment of both boys and girls in family relationship classes has shown that we're all becoming more and more aware of the advantages of preparing for marriage. Courses in child development help to prepare you for the task of guiding the child's physical, mental, and emotional development. Children need help in such things as learning the principles of money management, taking responsibility for their decisions, and adjusting to social situations. Home economics training teaches ways of developing democratic practices within the home and encourages you to take an active part in community affairs to protect the interests of your family and to share your education with others as well. Does that help answer your question, Janice?
Oh, I should say it does. Why, if anyone is going to be married and be a homemaker, it'd be foolish not to take home ec. But what if I don't get married? What good will all this do me then?
We'll go on to college first and then
Take home ec. But what if I don't get married? What good will all this do me then?
well, that's something for you to consider, all right. You may not get married. Not right away, at least. You probably will go on to college first and then maybe even work for a while. If you do have an opportunity to go on to college, you'll be able to continue your home ec training on a higher level. The home ec courses you've taken in high school will provide a good foundation for the more advanced work in college. You will see the relationship of your home ec training and the many other courses you will take in college. For instance, the relationship between a college chemistry course and what you've already studied about the chemical composition of new fabrics. Bacteriology will be more interesting because you've been concerned with bacteria and foods. And the same will be true of other courses. Sociology, economics, and psychology. For home economics training shows you how to use all your education to improve your living conditions.
So, as you see, home economics is really the scientific application of many shared disciplines into the management of one's daily life and the development of one's oneself and one's family. And that's what a lot of this is lacking in today's modern world.
And when you graduate from college, there will be many professional opportunities awaiting you if you become qualified in the field of home economics. Home economists are urgently needed as teachers in secondary schools and colleges, in extension work, and in nursery schools. Businesses which specialize in selling goods and services to the homemaker need personnel with home economics training. While dietitians are in great demand as directors of food service in hospitals and other institutions, social service agencies utilize home economists in the development of their programs. If you have scientific interests or technical skills, there's a demand for laboratory technicians in nutrition, foods, and textile research. In the newspaper and magazine field, there are fine opportunities for writers who have a working knowledge of home economics. And And in radio and television, there are opportunities for home economists who have the necessary training and capabilities. And so you see, Janice, regardless of what the future may hold in store for you, your home ec training will be of value to you. You'll always be faced with the problems of maintaining a home for yourself. And you'll find that your home ec training has given you an understanding of how to be a better homemaker, both for yourself and for others who depend upon you. And that's something worth thinking about.
I will think about it, Miss Jenkins, and thank you.
You're welcome, Janice. Come back again anytime.
What can they teach you in home ec classes that you can't learn here at home or pick up after you get married? If you find out, you tell me.
Just wait till I get home and see Carol. What I won't tell her.